Happy New Year, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about what went well and what didn't over the year 2023 in the garden, at least for me. I'm interested to hear what went well for you and what didn't go well for you, especially. We can share our knowledge and hopefully, not make the same mistakes in coming years. So, let's just get right off to it. Things that went well. Let me do a little turn here so that you can see behind me. Look at the raspberry plants. My bramble patch, I think, went decently. We got a bunch of berries to harvest, and it could have been better, but it definitely could have been worse, too. We had some deer damage in the beginning of the season. At least I think it was deer. Might not have been deer. It could have been rabbits or something. But ultimately, it went pretty well, and I ended up planting more raspberries and some blackberries, and things have been growing, well, had been growing steadily up until the frost came and kind of put everything on pause for the winter. Totally fine with the raspberry world. I'm going to let these canes that you see here, back over there, I'm going to let those canes that you see there get through the spring season initially. They're going to flower and berry a smaller spring crop. And then anything that I harvest berries from in the spring will get cut down, because that's what you do with dual cropping raspberries. Here's something that didn't do as well as I would have hoped. Ignore, that was an awkward maneuver. Here's something that didn't go as well as I'd hoped. Ignore the pots on the ground, but what you see there is the willow. It grew, some of it did, but I would not say that most of it did. I only got a few usable canes, so I'm going to try to pollard these. I'm going to cut these canes down, move them to a different spot in the yard, and pollard them, and then we'll go from there and see how that turns out. The goal, of course, is to have a living fedge. I was originally going to put the living fedge over here by the apple trees, which we might as well start walking over there now, in the interest of saving time. Just that. So, yeah. I was going to put it probably right about here where I am standing, going back to the fence line. You can kind of see it back there. Then the apple trees you can see over here. They're little for now, but they'll get bigger. And I need to keep the fence about 8 feet out from the trunk of the trees so that I maintain their proper drip line. I don't want to shade out and moisture out the willow, especially since, it's willow and it likes to be a moisty boy. Anyway, apple trees. Let's talk about that. I think the apple trees did very well. Even the little Franklin cider guy here, you can see, we'll move you in a little closer so that you can see. Even he has got some nice growth and on the buds. We've got a little bit of bud swelling, not much, which that would be totally normal at this point in the season. So we're going to give it time. I'll come through here late winter, prune these things more to the shape that I want them. But yeah, here's another one. This one is the pink lady, and I'd say she's doing well. This is the one that blew completely over in the storm, which is why it's in a cage. The cage has done some what I think might be good things, actually, for the branching here, since these branches would get cut off anyway. In order to, well, we'll go over that when I do winter pruning. I'm not going to go too in depth with that now. But the goal, of course, is to make a nice cup shape, like a chalice shape. That's what I'm going to go for here with these trees, I think. I could do central leader or modified central leader, but if I go with modified central leader, the trees might get a little too tall. We'll see. They shouldn't get that tall. Moving on to the last in our group of the standard, like traditional apple trees, we have the Granny Smith. Here is the Granny Smith tree, and as you can see, this one actually got decently tall. And we've got some good branch formation here too, so we'll trim these up and make everything quite nice later. Moving over here, and also take note of something for me. All right, so see this? See the width is not too dissimilar from one of my fat little pinkies here. This is decent sized trunk. But I bring that up because I would like you to compare it to over here. This is the columnar apple, and the columnar apple, I forget which one is which now, since there's two of them. But this one, as you can see, the trunk is actually thicker. That is... You see what I see down at the base of the trunk there? Right there. I've got rabbit damage. Crap. I have trunk guards on the other 3 trees, and I guess I'm going to have to do that with these 2. Glad it came out here. I'm going to have to put those on order, like, immediately. Cool. Moving on to the garden proper. Realized you can't see my spiffy little scarf. I like my scarf. Anyway, strawberry bed behind me. See it there? Ha! I'd say the strawberry bed did very well. Didn't get a lot of strawberries this year. We did get a few. I imagine that next year we should get kind of a lot. I'm hoping we get kind of a lot, because this was a lot of dirt to fill it with. So, moving on. Peppers, my pepper bed. Primary pepper bed, or pepper bed number 1. I think that I only need 1 bed of peppers, and I need to be more judicious about which peppers I choose. I'm going to go with ghost peppers and poblano, maybe serrano, and that's it, I think, in the future. Well, I like the Hungarian hot wax that I grew. Those turned out really well. That was the Johnny's Select variety Hungarian, the improved Hungarian hot wax. Those plants were amazing and extremely productive. The fruit was good too, so yeah. I'll have to think about, maybe I still do need 2 beds. Speaking of 2 beds, I actually have 2 beds waiting in our breezeway to be built. Those are going to be built once I have access to dirt again in the spring, and then those will get filled. As you can see from the pepper bed and other beds in the background, I got lots of cleaning to do. We're going to move away from the garden proper for just a moment. Here lies Malevolence, Selena Purpureum, Purple Devil, 5-minute plant, whatever you want to call it. It was a fun plant to grow for the single seed challenge. It went really well. I'm going to do a different plant next year, or this year, and it won't be anywhere near as dangerous to handle, or will it? All right, if you are a follower of the single seed challenge series that I have going, then you will know what that plant is. And I'm not going to keep you in suspense. It's Tropa belladonna, one of the most toxic plants that you can reasonably get a hold of. Why? Because I like poisonous stuff. Just for fun. Let's see, what else do we got? Currants. Currants did well. I learned that currants fruit only on old wood. Didn't know that. As it so happened, since I only planted the currants the year before 2023, so 2022, this is what they look like now that all the leaves have fallen off of them. And yeah, I'd say that ultimately that looks pretty good. I might need to trim a little bit. I do have a cane rubbing on another cane over here, right there. So that's something I'll probably have to fix. But yeah, currants, love it. Turned out well. So well, in fact, I planted another bed of them. Ha-ha! Same variety, same nursery. This is at the end of the first year. I'm not surprised. This is about what they looked like last year as well. With those, I should say. Just for clarification's sake. Now you're going to see a bunch of piles of stuff laying around, and that stuff is important. That is going to relate to one of the big projects for 2024, early 2024, in fact. I might even start on it. Let me describe this part. Well, you can see my face. That might help. So, you can see piles of stuff in the yard, like bricks and pavers. That's what those are called. There's some boards over there. You can kind of see them way back over there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but anyway, so what I've got in the garage in order to kind of do with these things. That was not a good sentence. Anyway, what I have all this stuff for is to do a greenhouse. I've got a little 6 foot by 10 foot question mark greenhouse. It's either 6 foot by 10 foot or 6 foot by 8 foot. I do not remember off the top of my head. Anyway, I'm going to build it, and it's going to go. You can clearly see I've made my decision on this. Im, im, im. I think the best spot to put the greenhouse for visual interest might be right here, where I've got my chair. So, as a result of that, my chair is going to have to move. That means when I get a little pergola, that's what they're called, I'm going to put the chair and the pergola together, and that's probably going to go kind of over where that stuff is now. So that stuff will go here, this stuff will go over there, and then behind the currants, in that area where I've got the table and the planter and the other planter, and the more different planters, I got a lot of stuff I got to clean up. Don't mind the mess, please. Behind where the currants are, I'm going to start dabbling in plant propagation. I'm going to pick myself up a couple non-patented plants and start harvesting cuttings from them and see if I can get into growing some stuff and refining my propagation practices in the hopes of maybe starting a backyard nursery in the future. I will not be doing that this year. Starting a nursery, I mean. Specifically because that requires a bunch of licensing and inspections, and I'd really like to make sure that it's something that's feasible before I go through the rigmarole of doing all that. And I can't legally sell anything until I have the licensing and the inspection and all that. So it will not be a nursery for 2024, but it will be experimenting in nursery practices, we'll put it that way. Just to see if this is something I want to do. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. We'll find out. Anyway, that's not the point of the video. Things that did well and continue to do well. Look at this friggin' parsley. It is 32 degrees outside, and the parsley is still mostly green. And the yellow that you see there just showed up a couple days ago. It's still going strong. The rosemary, still going strong. The catnip, well, it saw a brief resurgence, but now it's kind of dying. The basil obviously died, and chocolate mint is now also gone. I did not think that chocolate mint would lose the battle to the parsley. I think this was 2 parsley plants. It might have only been 1. This is also with me harvesting over 3 pounds of parsley from it. It's a force, it's a... My lips is getting cold. It's a force to be reckoned with anyway. So definitely be doing it again. Love the parsley, love the output. It's all great. Here's something else that did kind of interestingly. It's my rose. Well, one of my 2 roses. I have 2 of these double blaze, I think they're called, climbing roses. And it's kind of climbing. Now, this might, to seasoned rose experts, this might look kind of sloppy. I have no idea what it's supposed to look like, I'll be honest, because I am not a seasoned rose expert, it turns out. I will bring this around to this side, just like that. If I could keep it going around, that would be nice. I was referring to, because I just realized you couldn't see it, I was referring to this up here. I just moved it from here to here. All right, moving on. Here's the other rose. Yeah, there's the other rose. And the remnants of my dad's garden, which apparently broccolied again without us realizing it. That's funny, we didn't even notice. My dad has a sensitivity to cold as a result of some stuff that he's gone through, and so he does not come out here in the cold. And with it being the season of the holidays and whatnot, I have not come out in the cold much either, because the only thing I have that is still alive out here that is worth doing anything currently with was trimming the lavender plants, which I did just a little bit ago. We apparently have a bunch of garlic, and wow, that's fun. Something that did do well. My really tall, my like 8 foot tall tomato trellis did really well. Not much else to say. All right, here's the old one, by the way. And you'll notice the old one is still in the repaired state. The repaired state meaning that this is the part that broke during the storm. And this is the repair that was put in. Now, this is the same system that I used over there, just on taller poles. And those poles are made taller by extensions that I bolted to them. I will be doing a video on converting this broken and kind of repaired state to that come spring. And to those that care about such things, the video will not be an hour long, I promise. To get that reference, you have to watch the old video. The old video was one where I basically went and did a comparison between this trellis and the taller trellis you can see in the background there, and basically was like, hey, I'm going to go try this new setup that was recommended. And that was before this one broke. And this one broke because these, and I knew this at the time, these were not a good solution. These worked for the first year, but you have to keep in mind, these things have little notches cut out of them anyway. And those notches introduce stress points for little plastic adapters that get brittle in the sun because they're not UV protected. So because of that, I ended up with these little things that I probably should have replaced and didn't replace. And then we had a huge storm come in and break off a tree back there. You probably see it back there somewhere. Anyway, it broke off one of those trees, snapped it right in half. A huge gust of wind came through and leveled most of the garden. Just flattened everything that wasn't really well supported. The pepper plants all fell over. One of the trees was laying down in the yard afterwards. This whole trellis collapsed and introduced a leaf spot to my tomatoes here, which the other pile of parts that aren't going to be used for the greenhouse is going to be to make a fire pit so that I can burn all this. That is why this has not been torn down yet, in case you are wondering. Here we have asparagus. Can't eat it yet. That's got another year or so before we can start eating it, but it did well. I mean, you can see it did well. It's all broken now, but that's fine because we're going to get new shoots coming up. That's just another thing I'm going to have to clean up, but with asparagus, it's generally considered a best practice to not clean up asparagus until the spring. And the reason for that is because all of this stuff here will hold snow and act as an insulator. And that insulator will help your plant not only survive, but thrive. And then come spring, you actually get a slightly earlier breaking of ground. I think the flower Thunderdome went quite well. We had a nice sunflower that came up in a real dominant spot there. And all the other flowers, really, Allison kind of stole the day. It was interesting to see how it turned out. Speaking of flowers that were interesting to see how they turned out, Queen Lime Zinnias. Beautiful flowers and really prolific producers of buds. All of the flower stalks that you can see here, which I guess you can't see that many of them, but all of these flowers, I'll make them move a little bit. Yeah, see, so there's more behind it. There's a bunch of flowers that we had that grew, and they looked really nice. And then my neighbor gifted me a hollyhock, and that thing got to be, here it is. That's a decent sized flower. So I was quite happy with how that turned out too. It's getting cold out here. My hands are cold, my nose is cold. I mean, that's fair. It's winter. So how did your garden do? This is something that I think it's important to share. I mean, we're in this hobby for, well, I guess we could be in this hobby for a myriad of reasons, but I am in this hobby for the sense of community and for the sense of grounding. Get it? Because it's gardening in the ground. Anyway, that it gives me. So I also like to learn. Plants are good for teaching me things. Blueberries. The two bushes that I planted first that I had originally was housing them in the shed, and then I brought them out of the shed and planted them on a day like this, and then they went through a really nasty cold shock spell that stunted them pretty heavily. They look pretty good now. I planted what you see around those are lingonberry plants. And one of them got cut off at the ground by some animal, probably a bird. I don't know why, but let's see. Here we have two different varieties. I want to say these are early blue. Blueberries. And these did not do a whole lot. I put them in the ground and they just kind of like, okay, we're good. And then all the leaves fell off because winter came. So well, that remains to be seen if that went well. Down here we have lingonberry, or not lingonberry, cranberry plants. I don't remember if they're American cranberries specifically. Those did all right. I didn't get any cranberries, but that's okay. Gotta give them a little bit to get established. I have two more planters that size for those plants. Not those plants, but for plants like that. I'm gonna probably be adding two more blueberry bushes at the end there and just keep going. I don't know. Haven't really decided yet. We'll see. And then over here, and the lights come on, and so that's quite nice. Over here we have my clematis. Now, my clematis plant was supposed to be taiga clematis, if I remember correctly. Clematis, whatever. This is what it looks like now. Dead, which is fine. It'll regrow from the ground, I think. I don't remember which type this is, if it's a 1, 2, 3, or if it's a, green, yellow, red. I think those are the two ways you name them by type. But anyway, I don't remember what kind it is, so the pruning is something I'm going to have to look up. It shouldn't be too bad. I realize just by looking at this is not tall enough for my clematis. I might have to put an extension behind it or replace this. And I really like this, but I might have to replace it with something that's taller. I don't know. We'll see. This just clearly was not tall enough. I might have to put a couple poles up and just to give the clematis something else to kind of hold on to. So I had the lavender plants that I planted. Freshly trimmed, in fact. Those look pretty good. One of the real standout plants of the year that we received, other than the hollyhocks, because those looked really nice, is this hardy mum. You need to understand something about this plant. We went to a Mother's Day sale at Hans Nursery in Springfield Township, and this plant we got for free. They were giving them away, Mother's Day sale promotion thing. It was this tall. Ooh, look at the red. Anyway, the plant was this tall. It had a pot. So it was like this pot and then that much plant. And it was like one little... Look at this thing now. Look at the scale of this plant. There's my foot for reference. Plant got huge. It really liked it there. And when it bloomed like these maroon kind of burgundy fall colored flowers. And it did that at like around Thanksgiving. It was spectacular. So I quite like them. This is why when my tarantula died and I created her little memorial planter out there, I used hardy mums just because they were the right color scheme anyway. And then also I just really liked how this one back here was turning out. So I'm interested to hear how your garden went and what went well and what didn't, especially if you're in a zone similar to mine, I'll be honest. I've got some plans for the future and we'll discuss. I mean, I kind of covered some of that, but we'll discuss that more in a coming video. Thanks for watching. Until we talk again. So that's just going to have to be how it works, because let's just face it, that's the only chance I got. This little light here, this thing has been the bane of my existence on more than one occasion. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody. So today, Happy New Year. 2 seconds out of the gate, I've already screwed it up. Some things never change. Ironically, I did not like how that turned out. Let's try it again. My hands are going to get cold if I do this for too long, so keep that in mind. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
Madam,
I can see your underpanties through your pajama
Yeah?
bottom. Yes, when you bend over, I can.
The colored ones I'm wearing.
I wasn't looking all that hard, but yeah. I probably could have. If you're a follower of the Single Seat Challenge series, I have something in my eye. Ow. If you... Still have something in my eye. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, right. The thing I'm going to do out there is I'm going to start dabbling in print population. No. I'm going to start dabbling. Let me start that bit over again. So, back there, behind all that stuff where the planters are, no, behind where the currants are, let's try this without me being dumb. All right. That's not the point of this video, is it? It's not. That's okay. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Damn it. Why is this so hard? Anyway.